Yeah.
So are we going to do an unboxing of this, or are we going to sit around and run our jaw?
This is your show. Start your camera.
Well, hello, folks. This is the Handyman 406 channel, and welcome. Anyways, a good friend of mine and neighbor had just purchased this Hobart 140 handler, I guess you would call it. And we are gonna do an unboxing here. We're gonna do a review, and we're gonna do some test welds and check the strength of those test welds. And you know, while I was unboxing this thing looked pretty. Just had the standard kind of stuff in there. Gauge for maybe a CO2 bottle, some hoses, the stinger. We show a tiny little spool of actual flexible wire here, which honestly for these 110 models is kind of ideal. I don't think I would use anything else. And so this machine is so similar to my Lincoln that it's not even funny. It's almost like they were manufactured by the same company or by the same manufacturers and sold to different companies, I should say. The only difference is on the dials here, I did notice there was another heat setting as opposed to the Lincoln. My Lincoln's probably getting close to 20 years old now, and I tell you, it's been a real workhorse. I have only been pleased with it and have nothing but good to say about it. So, just putting the ground together.
Back to doing this.
How many hand blocks does it take to screw in a...
Oh, howdy. I don't need pork carry.
I don't either, Aaron. It's nasty.
You're made out of it. Look at that.
No, look at you.
Look at you.
If somebody was in a meat market and they had to choose between this and that, what would they pick?
That.
That.
Of course. Grass-fed.
Give me that.
Vegetarian ham hock.
All right, so next I guess we should just see how this stuff welds, huh? What do we like about it and what do we don't like about it? You're supposed to say those things, right?
That's unboxing 101. You have to figure out what you like about it and what you don't like about it.
Come on over here and say that to the camera.
The way how unboxing works is, of course you have to unbox it, and then you have to build it if it's buildable, and then you have to say what you like about it and what you don't like about it.
It's a natural.
There you go.
That's a chip off the old block right there.
I think we need to use it before we decide if we like it or not.
How about if we use it before we decide if we're even going to put it together?
It's a good idea. That's what I did with my boat.
Did you forget?
I've used my little welder from everything from, small jobs, doing ornamental iron, just around the house, welding projects, you name it. I can pretty much do it with this little thing. They're actually a lot more powerful than one might expect out of a little box like this. And as you will see,
I've broke every rule with that thing except the back plug.
It's coming.
No, it's not.
It's coming. Every boat owner must. That's right. We got to put this on. But we haven't even.
well, we managed to finally get the ground wire hooked up, and here we're just getting the stinger put in. Now, the stinger consists of a tube within a tube. It's made to handle the gas mixture of the CO2 along with the wire feed itself, and it has some electrical connections which go to the trigger. The trigger actually actuates the wire feed. So I'm just putting this in for the first time, and pretty simple setup. There wasn't a whole lot to it. Basically just take that end and push it in. There was a set screw that needed to be loosened up a little bit, and I just made sure and push it all the way in. This is, like I said, with the gas feed, so you have to make sure it's completely connected, and the nut is secured as well, because that winds up making your ground as well. So the wire spool we stuck in the small spool. We had to
We're gonna be out of wire
remove
by the time this thing goes
the
through.
larger spool adapter. And I'm
Uh-oh.
going to do that. Here, I'm just feeding the wires
I should
as far as I
probably
can through there by hand
turn it on.
before I actually
I
close
don't know
up
if it keeps
the feeder here. And then, well, I'm actually having to hook these wires up first, but then we're going to fire this thing up here in a second, and we're going to finish feeding the wire through the hose. And it's important to
I
take,
guess it doesn't matter which one goes where.
well,
Because
this brand new setup,
it's
we
just
didn't have to take the
connects
little
continuity,
brass
turns
tip
on
off
the
or copper tip because it wasn't on there.
little
I mean,
motor.
as you'll see, we're going to install that. But just a quick plug in here. Aaron hits the button, and
Wire speed way up.
going to turn the wire feed up. As you can see, it's feeding nicely into the tube
There it is.
or the hose, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And
So
there it is
take
popping
this
out on
off,
the other end.
because we're going to be welding with flux core.
And this one came with, you know, of course, the nozzle for welding with CO2 gas.
All right. So
And
that's
my Lincoln came stock with two options, and you could
right
actually
there.
use
Okay, and then you have
a
shroud
little rubber
over that entire thing.
shroud that was a lot more streamlined
Come on.
than the
This-
gas shroud.
No, I mean you could use that,
But Hobart did not have
it's
that.
nice to have one of those little
He
plastic
just
shrouds
screwed
where it's
in
not hiding top of
the tip here. The tips have appropriate sizes for different size wires. Our wire was
Go ahead and try it,
point
yes. It obscures
030,
the
and the nozzles were marked accordingly. So just came with the one size wire and two of the copper tips. And so we just installed one of them. Like I was saying, yeah, the gas nozzle is just what we used here. Do not have the other option. Didn't along with my Lincoln 20 years ago. I like my nozzle tip due to the fact that it was just a lot more streamlined. It was easier to see when you were welding because the shroud's not needed. And these welders all come with a chart. I don't even wind up using them. You'll probably just pick your favorite setting and completely disregard this chart afterwards. Honestly, I run mine mostly on just the highest setting. And if you set your wire speed at around 2.5 for the flux core wire, that seems to be just about right. Between 2.5 and 3 depends on your voltage. I mean, I'll plug it in some houses. It feels like the thing's welding a lot hotter than it does in others. And the length of your extension cord matters as well. Shorter extension cords seem to boost the voltage a little bit to your box, and you'll welding a little hotter. But I'm just running a little test weld here, make sure the settings are right. I wound up bumping up just a hair, and seemed to work pretty good. We're using just a piece of spring steel, which ordinarily is not ideal for welding with. So we went out, we got an axle, and we're going to weld the spring to the axle, which and you would never do ordinarily, but just for the sake of demonstration, we went ahead and just did it just to check the strength of the weld. And I knew it was going to be a good weld. The flux core wire is it's a really strong welding wire. Once you learn how to use it, it's a lot dirtier. I suppose you could put gas with it and make sort of a dual shield type welding setup, but it's not really necessary. You kiss that with a little wire wheel or a grinder and it'll clean right up. We're, just a disclaimer here, neither one of us are expert welders. Aaron hadn't welded in 30 some years, and I don't claim to be any sort of a magic welder myself. I mean, I weld a lot, but it's just farm type stuff. I really don't put a whole lot of effort into it. As you can see, the metal's rusty, which actually this flux core wire seems to weld just fine. That's been my experience. Rusty, dirty iron, it seems to just move through and makes nice strong welds. Here we're testing it a little bit. Going in the one direction, it seems strong, but the other direction not so strong. So we're just kind of figuring, hey, we're just going to put a weld on both sides and really give this thing a heave and see if we can't break the weld. And so that's what we did. This was Aaron's first pass, and didn't quite get enough penetration on the spring steel there. So we're going to hit it a few more times. and ultimately I think we went over probably 3 times. And that's the secret with welding with these smaller boxes, is just going slow and making it hot. Here's my son. He owed me some money, so he thought it'd be funny and throw some coins in my hand. But I'm saying, here, give me that cash, buddy. Quite the little jokester. So, but yeah, so the secret is just to go slow, make that weld hot, keep it hot. You're going to notice the weld gets better as you move along, as the metal heats up. I've even taken my acetylene torch on thicker material, and I put a cherry on it. And I heat it up with a little cherry, throw it down, turn my torch off real quick, and then grab my welder, my arc welder, and then I'll hit it while it's really hot like that. And I notice I get really good penetration. Aaron's putting his back into this thing.
It's gonna hurt.
And Aaron's a strong guy, and he wasn't able to break this. So I mean, I wouldn't trust my life with this weld or this kind of arrangement, but it's demonstration purposes only here, and just to kind of show that these welders are capable of pretty good welds. I mean, if we spent some time on that and we put a few more passes, you could trust that for something structural. Maybe. Like I said, I'm not a welder and I'm not an expert either. So, but been around the farm a lot, and just a lot of personal type stuff, and I seem to get by. But yeah, so this was a pretty good little box. We were very happy with the results.
Subscribe to Man 406 and like, comment, and share.
You heard the boy. Hit that subscribe button if you like this kind of content. Give us a thumbs up and share the video. And if you guys have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. You guys know the routine. Thank you so very much for watching this, and we'll see you guys on the next one.